Welcome back to Afternoon Break. Today we're talking about work-life balance with Patrick Ryan, founder of Wingman for You. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Becky.
Now, will you explain just briefly what Wingman for You is?
Wingman for You is a coaching and mentoring program where we help men find the woman of their dreams.
Now, I found it interesting that 83% of U.S. employees say their personal relationships are negatively impacted by burnout from work. Will you talk about why that work-life balance is so important? We so often use, "Oh, I'm busy," a lot around our workplace. So talk about that.
Well, it's funny that you use that word busy because I am not a big fan of the word busy. I like to be more intentional. And I guess if we just use those two words alone, you want to become more intentional with your life. So as an example, let's say you have this high paying, perhaps very stressful work environment, and you've got very little that you do on the outside. In fact, perhaps you're even taking work home with you and you're thinking about work. And so what happens with employees is sometimes they don't put their foot down and say, I am out of here at 4 o'clock. As a result of that, can lead to a lot of health issues, including overweight, not eating properly. And of course, if you're working that much, you probably don't have time for exercise.
I love that you had mentioned that. It really seems like it comes down to boundaries. How are you seeing employees trying to maintain a balance between their professional life and their personal life?
Well, that's a great question, Becky. They show up very, very differently. So some people are very committed to their personal life and to their hobbies or to their family. And so they have that nice balance. You need to keep the lines of communication open. And this is probably harder for men than women. We need to be more emotionally vulnerable. We need to talk about it. We need to say, I'm a little depressed when I come home from work because I work so hard, and maybe you're not getting what you need from your partner from just perhaps listening. A relationship, especially a romantic relationship, is a communication sport. You need to be able to speak freely and safely. No judging, no judgment.
What should employees do to strike a balance between their professional and romantic life?
Really, you want to get committed to the relationship. And here is one thing I would suggest. Once a week, and we usually did this on Sundays, we had a family meeting. Here's the structure I would suggest you use is that you first sit down and with each of your kids and yourself and let's say, hey, here's what I accomplished last week. And we would take notes. We'd have notes and say, here's the 3 things I wanted to accomplish last week, and I got 2 of them done. And everyone would say, hey, that's great. Now we talk about what's our schedule like next week, because that's really vitally important, especially if you're picking up kids from school or if you're taking them to swim practice or volleyball or whatever that may be. And then if you're going to have a date night, you can change it. Like, for instance, if you try to do it every Thursday night, well, something's going to come up. Johnny's got a baseball game. We can't have date night. You've got to look at it for possibly from week to week. And of course, the last thing on the family meeting agenda is, okay, what are you going to accomplish this week? And this is great for kids. They start to get structure in their life. They love structure.
Now, would you expand on the consideration employees should take and exert when it comes to evaluating a job to ensure the work-life balance is possible?
If you're looking for a job, I would say absolutely mention that in the interview. I'm looking for a work-life balance. I'm only committing to 40 hours a week, things like that. And then in addition, if you are that employee, you need to put your foot down and say, I'm committed to my family. I've got to get out of here at 4 o'clock. By the way, can I come in early tomorrow to make up for leaving 2 hours early today? Whatever that may be. But you've got to keep those lines of communication open.
It sounds like flexibility is really the key on both ends here. And that's the important takeaway, is being able to have those boundaries, and communication is key. Patrick Ryan, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to Afternoon Break about these important tips, because we all need a little work-life balance and to use the word busy way less often.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.